Tonight on The Story. This year marks 4 decades since the end of Rajneeshpuram in Central Oregon.
Antelope people don't want us here.
The commune near the town of Antelope.
You are truth.
Led by a guru.
You are love.
Bhagwan Shree Rajneesh.
You are bliss.
His teachings.
You are freedom.
A spiritual awakening for some, a never-ending nightmare for others.
The culture sort of didn't have any rules about age of consent.
Like Sarito Carroll, one of dozens of children who grew up on the Big Muddy Ranch.
The children belonged to the commune, not to the parents.
Tonight,
Like at the time, of course, we didn't think we were notorious.
her return to Central Oregon,
I have not been here for 40 years.
breaking her silence to Laurel Porter on the abuse,
You are truth.
exploitation,
You are love.
neglect,
You are bliss.
and fear
You are freedom.
There's been so much suffering.
of growing up Rajneesh. Here's the story.
Yeah, are we ready?
With standing room only
Sarito, that's me.
on a Sunday afternoon
There's just so many people. Yeah,
at the Oregon Historical Society,
it's a good show up.
Sarito Carroll
Yeah, I'm a little nervous. I'm okay. I'll be okay.
steadies herself, summoning her
I
courage
just feel like a little,
to share the buried truth.
it's a bit of a touchy book.
Audience members settle in for what they expect will be a memoir of Oregon's colorful and controversial past. What they'll hear instead is the account of a former child
I knew I couldn't stay silent forever.
who lived at the secretive commune Bhagwan Shree Rajneesh created in Central Oregon. KGW images from 40 years ago may be grainy, but the fascination with Bhagwan is crystal clear.
For most of us, our introduction to the Rajneeshis was with our introduction to Bhagwan. And Bhagwan was an eccentric guru who'd moved to Oregon. The interesting thing about him was that he drove Rolls Royces, one at a time, but he drove a lot of them.
The saga of Bhagwan Shree Rajneesh and his scarlet-clad followers captivated worldwide attention in the early 1980s.
Osho's vision for a new man.
In
one
her
liberated
memoir,
from
In the
conditioning.
Shadow of Enlightenment,
The unspoken things that happened in the shadows.
Sarito
Dismissing any
unveils
criticism as
the
negativity.
missing chapter.
I wasn't making it up.
Sarito and her mom had spent 3 years at Bhagwan's ashram in India. When troubles with the Indian government prompted the commune headquarters to relocate to Oregon in 1981, Sarito, at age 12, arrived alone at the Big Muddy Ranch, an unwitting pilgrim sent ahead of her mother.
I was wearing an orange dress, and so I arrived in Madras on the Greyhound bus to be picked up, and it's like cowboy land. There's a few people there just starting to go there to create our new commune. Yeah.
After 4 decades, she's finally stepping out of the shadow, revealing the sexual exploitation and abandonment
Each time I tried to speak,
that she says defined childhood at Rajneeshpuram.
some of it was truly bat crazy. And I think it's taken me 40 years to find the courage to say, this is who I am. The truth is what drives me, it's what keeps me alive.
You are truth. You are love. You are bliss. You are freedom.
I have not been here for 40 years.
Behind the truth the guru claimed to offer his followers,
It's sort of strange. It's like, where are the people?
with promises of love
Wow.
and spiritual freedom, lurked darker realities.
So I first arrived, we literally drove down this road. I was dropped off in front of that small house. It was such an imprint in my life.
As
Just
part
this
of her
little
healing
area,
journey, Sarito walks the grounds of what was once Rajneeshpuram for the first time since its collapse in 1985.
It's really beautiful here. It's sort of, it feels like a retreat.
Located in the high desert, 18 miles from the nearest small town of Antelope, the ranch has changed hands. It's now a youth camp, not in any way affiliated with the Rajneeshis.
Interesting to be here without all the people, because it was always so lively with all these people in red walking through this ranch. It's very peaceful, which is not what I would have said it was back then.
Back then, Bhagwan regarded meditation and free love as paths to spiritual enlightenment.
Worldwide, the press was calling Bhagwan a sex guru because he preached total sexual freedom. He was a sex and violence guru if you'd seen a documentary called Ashram.
Take the culture into context that, love and sex are sort of the same thing, and they're open, and, there's nothing, the culture sort of didn't have any rules about age of consent. I see howdy doody.
Only a handful of buildings from Sarito's days on the ranch remain.
So, you see that big house? There's a little tiny white house. That's howdy doody.
Where she lived when she first arrived.
It was me and another boy and then 13 men in there.
Soon, alone and lonely, what would become her lifelong trauma began its haunting course.
This adult man took interest in me and just treated me really kindly, and I was there, lonely, looking to connect. And so that evolved to the point that within a month or something, he had taken my virginity.
Where was Sarito's mother? She was deliberately distanced, living somewhere on the sprawling 100 square mile ranch. Sarito never saw her.
So one of Rajneesh's teachings was that the children belonged to the commune, not to the parents. And so some children were pretty much abandoned by their parents.
Sarito was part of the inner circle and worked long hours in the office, along with Bhagwan's personal secretary, Sheila. Sheila's reverence for the guru echoes through time.
He encourages growth in every fashion, every manner.
Sheila ran the commune with a group of her deputies known as the Moms.
They knew what was happening.
But no mom was watching out for Sarito.
But they didn't say it wasn't right. They just told us to be discreet.
When you're 12?
Yeah, when I'm 12.
Sarito says the abuse went on for years and with a number of men.
By the time I had left the commune, I think I had been with 15 men. And that's a low number. That's a low number. Some of my peers have said that before the age of 16, they had been with 150 adult men.
Oh my God.
So 150 rapes.
The ugly reality.
And it was all normalized.
Breathtaking.
Yeah.
She had been the victim of sexual exploitation, only revealed later through years of therapy.
It's taken me a long time it took a long time for me to recognize it as abuse. And it just feels, it's a sense of you're corroded by someone's energy, or, just the sexual act, you're invaded. And how do you cleanse yourself after that? How do you find your purity that he took? So being back here, it reminds me of the time I spent in Antelope, where I was...
As Sarito works to transcend her trauma, the nearby town of Antelope, where Sarito spent many hours as a commune child,
I just remember, I think I took a loop often around the whole town.
Is also reclaiming its identity.
The turn to the left here is how they get to the ranch.
Only recently replacing its welcome signs, the Rajneeshis removed when they took over the town.
Antelope people don't want us here.
A scar so deep it's taken generations to heal.
There is no Antelope today. Antelope was an isolated Central Oregon ranching community. Just 40 people when Rajneeshis moved in and bought houses and property in the only store.
It was the Antelope Cafe when we first arrived.
Sarito worked at the only store.
This was the only cafe. It was called.
They changed the name to Zorba the Buddha Cafe.
Now this building looks deserted. Wow.
Commune leaders expected the teens to work 12 to 16-hour days.
I learned how to, cook a lot of things like
Work was seen as their education.
There's a school building.
Sarito's only formal education, 2 months at the Antelope School, now the town's community center and city hall.
Now I really wish that I had gone to school, and I also wish, I've learned that I enjoy learning.
Down what was a dusty main street,
One of the first buildings the Rajneeshis bought.
another place where memories still cut like glass.
It was where we ran the book distribution operation. It looks almost exactly the same.
Now has a new life as the Antelope
Hello.
Museum.
Hi.
Sarita.
Run by John
So
Silvertooth,
nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
People need very much to hear the story.
the only remaining Antelope resident
Right.
from the days of Rajneeshpuram.
This is how
Yeah.
Sheila looked when we first bought the ranch.
Yeah.
The museum's shelves and walls are a time machine to the past,
Wow.
but conspicuously bypass a crucial chapter.
Right. I wonder if I'm in there. I was a model for the hair salon. So just to see all this stuff gathered, like at the time, of course, we didn't think we were notorious, right? And it's become so infamous is just kind of gobsmacking. Well, I almost feel like shame that I was involved in it.
No, you were a child and you were misled. At the time, even, you know, people could see, you know, that these children were mistreated. Oh, I think it's great that she's telling this story.
Standing near the reservoir the Rajneeshis built, Sarito returns to the landscape of her trauma.
Yeah, all the heartache. Trying to throw away all the heartache.
Where Bhagwan's promised paradise became her purgatory, one she's now ready to let go.
Yeah. And I feel like it's my turn to have a good life. Yeah. There's been so much suffering.
Completing what justice demands, to be witnessed and believed.
Yeah.
Laurel Porter joins me out. Laurel, thank you for your depth in reporting on this issue.
We want to thank Sarito Carroll for sharing her story with us, and we wish her a wonderful life. And I do want to recognize our photojournalist, Kurt Austin, who shot and edited that story.
A couple of questions for you, if I may. First, whatever happened to Sarito after the commune shut down?
Well, she did eventually get her GED. She went to college at the University of Boulder. She still lives in Boulder, where she's a licensed acupuncturist, and she has her real estate license.
And was anyone ever held accountable for the abuse Sarito says occurred?
No, no one was ever charged. The statute of limitations has long passed. When Bhagwan left the United States, he changed his name to Osho. He died in 1990. Sarito wants the Osho International Foundation to be held accountable, to formally apologize, compensate the victims, and put in safeguards to make sure nothing like what happened to her happens to anyone else. In response to our request for comment, a law firm representing the organization said Osho International Foundation is not connected to the organization that oversaw Rajneeshpuram, that the current organization only disseminates Osho's work, that it is the custodian of those works, but not of Osho's legacy, and therefore cannot be held responsible in any way for what happened to Sarito and her peers.
Okay. What also ever happened to Sheila in this case?
Sheila is in her late 70s now. She lives in Switzerland. She is denied any knowledge of neglect or child abuse of the children at the commune and accepts no responsibility.
And then for Sarito and her relationship with her mother, what does that look like?
It's a complicated relationship. She's still alive. She's 80 years old and lives in Portugal. Sarito recently visited her over Christmas time, and she says it's a difficult relationship. Her mom doesn't want to talk about the past, so Sarito's trying to enjoy the years she has left with her mom.
Laurel, thank you for bringing this to us.
You're welcome.
We have a lot more to this story, including a one-hour conversation between Sarito and Laurel about growing up on the commune. You can find the entire interview on our TV app KGW+. Download it for free right now on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. In fact, we have a whole schedule of Rajneesh content on KGW+ tonight, starting at 8 o'clock. It starts with the segment you just watched, followed by the full interview with Sarito Carroll, then a 1984 KGW documentary about Rajneeshpuram, and finally, the full 1985 KGW special report on the Bhagwan's arrest. If you can't watch it all tonight, those segments will be available on demand on KGW+ as well, so you can watch anytime. But now we'd love to hear from you. Do you have any memories of Rajneeshpuram? And if you weren't in Oregon in the 80s and are just learning about it, what's going through your mind? Let us know. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Up next on the story, part 2 of an investigation we brought you last night regarding an attorney tied to several shuttered treatment clinics in the state of Washington. the fatal consequences, and why the issue appears to have been happening for at least the past decade, when the story returns. Now to part two of an investigation we first brought you last night, focused on shuttered treatment clinics in the state of Washington and ties to a specific attorney. A man's overdose death last year, while he was enrolled at one of those drug treatment clinics, raised questions. Turns out his lawyer was the same one who was exposed a decade ago in a previous investigation. Chris Ingalls shows us evidence that the attorney is doing the same thing all these years later.
A late-night 911 call from this house in Sumner in Pierce County.
7 or 12, we're upstairs.
First responders came running to a reported drug overdose.
I was laying in bed and starting to go to sleep, and I heard a thud.
Judy Russo's 36-year-old son was lying motionless on the floor in this upstairs room of her house.
All hell broke loose. There were people running all over this place. Ambulances, police, the aid cars.
Later, she would learn her only son, Brett Ryan, died of a fentanyl overdose, a tragic end to his on-again, off-again addiction.
And they finally broke the news to me, and I was kind of in shock.
Brett Ryan was supposedly receiving treatment at the time he died in February of last year, enrolled at Rainier Recovery Centers by court order after a DUI arrest. But months after his death, all 3 locations were shut down for a pattern of corrupt practices, according to state health department records. In one case, documents describe the tragic story of patient 14 and how the clinic failed to ensure that he was treated properly. Using clues like the date of patient 14's death, the drugs found in his system, and county death records, we were able to identify patient 14 as Brett Ryan and find his mother.
But he tried really very hard to get clean and sober. He was for a long time.
Judy Russo provided her son's treatment records with the names of the Rainier Recovery staff members that assessed his condition.
It looks like your signature is on the records there. Does that seem accurate?
Jennifer Richards was a counselor trainee, new to her first job, who evaluated Brett's addiction and determined his treatment.
Did you think you were capable of doing that job?
It was overwhelming.
Records show how she determined that Brett was NSP, no significant problem, requiring the lowest level of treatment, even though he told her this.
Patient 14 said, "I drink because I have switched from heroin to alcohol." That sounds like somebody with a very significant problem.
It does.
It sounds to me like what he's telling you is he has a very serious drug and alcohol problem.
Yes. That's what it sounds like.
Was this did you make a mistake here?
I might have. I'm a trainee. That's why they call us trainees.
Yeah. She's right. The state's investigation blamed Rainier Recovery's CEO, Jeremiah Dunlap, for failing to provide required oversight for his trainees. And Dunlap was doctoring patient assessments down to the bare minimum from needing a higher level of care at the direction of a particular law firm. That's according to the findings and agreed order by the Department of Health. In court, a defense lawyer could use that downgraded assessment to argue for a lighter sentence or reduced treatment.
And it have to take a death for somebody to really stand up and say something finally? That's sad.
Jeremiah Dunlap did not respond to our messages seeking an interview. After Brett Ryan's DUI arrest in 2023, records show he hired the Lakewood law firm of Barbara A. Bowden.
My name is Barbara Bowden, and I'm the owner of the law offices of Barbara Bowden.
It was Bowden's law firm that referred him to Jeremiah Dunlap and Rainier Recovery. According to 4 former Rainier employees we spoke with, it was Bowden's law firm that routinely pressured Rainier employees to change patient assessment results. Records show 4 unidentified Rainier employees told state investigators the same thing.
Hello, Ms. Bowden. We're the King 5 investigators. We need to talk to you about Rainier Recovery.
Bowden, a longtime DUI lawyer in Pierce County, refused to answer our questions. And it's not the first time.
This complaint is one of several references to Barbara Bowden's law firm.
Bowden has ties to a past King 5 investigation, Sobriety for Sale.
Have clients been paying money to you to get out of treatment?
No.
Nearly a decade ago, we exposed corruption at 5 Pierce County treatment clinics. 4 of them shut down by the state after our stories. Many of them submitted falsified treatment reports to the courts. Records show Barbara Bowden had ties to every one of those clinics. In one case, a Bowden DUI client was rated NSP, no significant problem and minimal treatment, months before he drove drunk again the wrong way on the 520 bridge. He hit and killed Morgan Fick Williams on her way to work.
I believe if they were really doing their job, then they would have recognized immediately that he had a drinking problem, because he didn't go a day without smelling like alcohol.
It's all over Department of Health documents that that's what you were doing. Is that true? Were you harmful to clients, ma'am?
I feel like, yeah, if I made a mistake, oh my God, I feel terrible. Why wouldn't I?
So I want to ask you again, did you treat this client this way because he was a Barbara Bowden client?
No, I did not. I treated this client this way because it was his first DUI.
Jennifer Richards says no one told her to downgrade Brett Ryan's assessment. But with licenses revoked at Rainier Recovery's trio of clinics, that means Barbara Bowden's firm is now tied to 8 suspicious treatment centers over the years, 7 of which were shut down by state regulators.
Thank you. Please have a seat. Good morning.
When Brett Ryan appeared in this Pierce County District courtroom last year, Bowden's law firm submitted his NSP evaluation to the judge. He was sentenced to no jail time and, because of Rainier Recovery's recommendation, minimal treatment. 1 month later, he was dead from a fentanyl overdose.
It was about the money. It wasn't about him. No, they didn't help him at all. He had life left, and it wasn't for them to decide on how much. He didn't deserve it.
Despite the allegations, Jeremiah Dunlap continues to hold his counselor's license, although he was forced to sell Rainier Recovery. And when it comes to the lawyer, Barbara Bowden, the state health department says they don't have jurisdiction over lawyers. So it appears that nobody is investigating her conduct, even after all these years. Stay with us. We're back right after this. Multnomah County Chair Jessica Vega Peterson released her balanced budget proposal this morning. It includes cuts to almost all departments. Multnomah County District Attorney Nathan Vasquez held a fiery press conference this afternoon, blasting the chair for not supporting public safety. But Vega Peterson's office fired back, writing in part, "Public safety is prioritized with no cuts to the sheriff's office, jails, and some of the smallest reductions in the county to the DA and Department of Community Justice. To imply otherwise is disingenuous. No one jumps the line and gets special treatment because they go on TV and talk loudly." We're going to take a closer look at the chair's proposed budget tomorrow night on The Story. But that is the end of our show tonight. Thank you for watching. The good stuff is coming your way next. Enjoy the rest of your gorgeous Thursday night, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow night at 6:30.